When we study the Wild West, we run into a lot of badass characters. Heck Thomas, Billy the Kid, Jesse James, even the actors in Hollywood like John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, they're badasses. But one we haven't talked about and could be one of the most influential people of the Wild West just got a new premiere on Paramount Plus. That's Bass Reeves. Arguably the most successful lawman in Wild West history. So we're going to take a deep dive into Bass Reeves on this episode of Chronicles of the West. Born in 1838 to enslaved parents in Crawford County, Arkansas, Bass Reeves would go on to make history as the first U.S. Deputy Marshal west of the Mississippi River, becoming one of the most celebrated frontier heroes in American history. Bass, owned by a man named William Reeves, adopted his owner's surname, a common practice amongst slaves during that time. His first name was derived from his grandfather, Bass Washington. Reeves initially worked as a water boy and later a field hand alongside his parents. Around 1846, William Reeves relocated his operation and family and his slaves to Grayson County, Texas. Standing tall at 6'2", Bass Reeves possessed a courteous demeanor and a good sense of humor. George Reeves, William's son, became his valet, bodyguard, and companion. When the Civil War began, Texas aligned itself with the Confederacy, and George took Bass with him. During the Civil War years, Bass separated from Reeves' family, with accounts suggesting it was due to his dispute in a card game or his desire to escape after hearing about the freeing of slaves. Bass found refuge in Indian Territory, which is now Oklahoma, with the Seminole, Cherokee, and Creek Indians, learning their customs, languages, and tracking skills. He also honed his firearm skills, becoming a quick and accurate pistol shooter, although he considered himself only fair with a rifle, and was often barred from competitive turkey shoots. After being freed by the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, Bass left Indian Territory, purchased land near Van Buren, Arkansas, and became a successful farmer and rancher. He married Nellie Jenny from Texas and raised 10 children on their homestead. During this period, oral history suggests that Reeves occasionally served as a scout and guide for the U.S. Deputy Marshals, conducting business in Indian Territory under the jurisdiction of the Van Buren Federal Court. Reeves' life as a content farmer changed when the Federal Western District Court was relocated to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and Isaac C. Parker was appointed as the judge. Parker appointed U.S. Marshal James F. Fagan to hire some 200 deputies to restore order in the lawless Indian Territory. Fagan recruited Reeves as a U.S. deputy due to his extensive knowledge of the area and his ability to speak several tribal languages. These deputies were tasked with cleaning up, quote, Indian Territory as per Judge Parker's orders. They said, bring him in alive or dead. Bass Reeves worked alongside legendary lawmen like Heck Thomas, Bud Ledbetter, and Bill Tillman. Some of those we've covered on this channel already. Covering the vast expanse of the United States Court at Fort Smith, which spans some 75,000 square miles. Despite his inability to read or write, Reeves' effectiveness in apprehending criminals was unhampered. Before each mission, he had someone read the warrants to him, memorizing their contents and distinguishing between the differences. He never failed to produce the correct warrant when required. Reeves was an imposing figure, was always seen riding a large white stallion, and earned a reputation for his courage and success in capturing or eliminating numerous outlaws in the territory. While typically dressing elegantly and wearing a large hat with polished boots, he was also skilled in disguise, often adopting different personas such as cowboy, farmer, gunslinger, or outlaw. He always carried 2 Colt pistols, holstered for quick draw, and was ambidextrous, ensuring that his shots really missed the mark. Reeves would leave Fort Smith with a pocket full of warrants, returning months later with multiple outlaws in custody, charged with crimes ranging from bootlegging to murder. He earned substantial fees and rewards, making a significant profit before spending time with his family before then heading out again. The tales of his capture are filled with intrigue and courage. In one instance, Reeves pursued 2 outlaws in the Red River Valley near the Texas border. He gathered a posse and devised a plan, disguising himself as a tramp. Hiding his tools, which, like his handcuffs, pistol, and badge, under his clothes, he arrived at the outlaw's mother's house wearing old shoes, dirty clothes, carrying a cane, and sporting a floppy hat with 3 bullet holes. Upon arriving, he told a fabricated story to the woman, who answered the door, gaining her sympathy. After being invited in for a meal, she shared information about her outlaw sons, suggesting that they actually team up. Pretending to be wary, she allowed him to stay longer. As night fell, Reeves heard a whistle from beyond the house. The woman went outside and responded with a whistle of her own. Soon, 2 riders arrived and engaged in a conversation with her. Afterwards, they all entered the house and the woman introduced her sons to Reeves. They discussed their crimes and decided to join forces. As the outlaws slept, Reeves watched them closely and, without waking them, handcuffed them. In the morning, he roused the outlaws, marched them out, and delivered them to the waiting posse. The outlaws were promptly handed over to the authorities, and Reeves collected a $5,000 reward. One of the highlights of Reeves' career was apprehending the notorious outlaw Bob Dozier, who was involved in a wide range of crimes, from cattle and horse rustling to bank and store robberies and murder and land swindles. Dozier had eluded the many lawmen until Reeves tracked him down in the Cherokee Nation and engaged in a gunfight, resulting in Dozier's death on December 20th of 1878. In 1887, Reeves faced charges of murder of posse cook, and his trial was presided over by Judge Isaac Parker. He was represented by U.S. State Attorney W.H.H. Clayton, a colleague and friend, and ultimately he was acquitted. In 1889, he was assigned to Paris, Texas. Reeves pursued the Tom Story gang of horse thieves. He surprised Tom Story with an arrest warrant, but Story drew his gun, prompting Reeves to act swiftly and shoot him dead. The rest of the gang disbanded and disappeared. Reeves arrested the notorious Seminole outlaw Greenleaf in 1890, a fugitive who had been on the run for 18 years and had murdered 7 people. In the same year, he pursued the famous Cherokee outlaw Ned Christie, although Christie managed to evade capture despite Reeves and his posse burning down Christie's cabin. In 1896, Reeves' wife passed away in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and he was subsequently transferred to the Muskogee Federal Court in Indian Territory. In 1900, he married again, this time to a woman named Winnie Sumter. One of the most challenging manhunts in Reeves' career was tracking down his own son in 1902. After delivering 2 prisoners to U.S. Marshal Leo Bennett in Muskogee, Oklahoma, Reeves received devastating news that his son, Benny, had been charged with murdering his wife in a fit of jealousy. Despite the reluctance of other deputies to accept the warrant, Reeves insisted on finding his son. 2 weeks later, he returned with his son, who was tried and sentenced to life in prison. After a petition by citizens in displaying exemplary behavior in prison, Benny Reeves was eventually pardoned and lived the rest of his life as a model citizen. Throughout his career, Bass Reeves was known for his unflinching courage and commitment to duty, with a reputation for never showing fear under any circumstance. In 1907, state agencies took over law enforcement, ending Reeves' tenure as a deputy marshal. He then became a patrolman with the Muskogee, Oklahoma Police Department, where no crimes were reported on his beat during his 2-year service. Reeves' career came to an end in 1909 due to his diagnosis with Bright's disease. He passed away on January 12th of 1910 and was buried in the agency cemetery at Muskogee, Oklahoma, although the exact location of the grave remains unmarked and on private property. Bass Reeves' obituary described him as an absolutely fearless and knowing no master but duty. Over his 35-year career as deputy marshal, he earned a well-deserved place in history for his effectiveness in taming the lawless Indian Territory, apprehending more than 3,000 outlaws, and ensuring justice was served. Despite taking the lives of 14 men during his service, Reeves maintained that he only shot when it was necessary to protect his life or to fulfill his duty.